Hi, my name is Neethi, and this is my testimony. I was born in India, and my dad was an Anglican, and my mom was Hindu. My grandpa was an Anglican priest, and we were raised by our grandparents. Things that shouldn't have happened to a children happened to me, including being pitted against my own mother. I was told I was abandoned. Where's your mom? They taunted me. Eventually, we moved out of there. And when we did move away to the Middle East, my dad worked a lot, and my mom was really hurt by what was done to her. So I didn't trust her. I was angry at her because of abandoning us, or that's what was told to me. So I really just pushed her away and didn't have a relationship with her or my dad. I was very angry. When I moved to Canada, my dad wasn't here, and it was the same cycle. So I always dealt with things by myself, didn't tell them anything, became very sneaky, tried to look for love elsewhere and attention everywhere else. I tried to fit into a cookie cutter just to get accepted by people. By the time I was 14, I had at least moved 20 times in my life. Different countries, cities, schools, homes. So I was never in a place long enough to build relationships or friendships. So I was always trying to fit in, always trying to be something else. I fell into peer pressure, got into really messed up stuff, and I didn't have anybody to go to. I got involved in relationships from men from gangs and drinking, smoking, all that stuff. And I carried some shame with me just because of what was done to me and what I allowed, and just being sneaky and not being able to tell anybody. I did get saved in the Middle East when my sister got healed, but I got saved out of fear because when my whole family got saved, they got baptized, and around the time they were watching movies about the rapture. One particular one was Thief in the Night, and I said I wanted to get baptized too, but I wasn't allowed because I was too young. And so I insisted that I would get baptized, and I just, out of fear, got saved. So that was my impression of God, that if I didn't do the right thing or be a certain way, then I would be getting left behind. Fast forward a little bit, and coming to church here, I just felt like I didn't want to go, but I was forced to go. And that narrative of God being this big bad guy who was just going to leave me behind if I messed up was always there. And so I felt like I had to always carry myself a certain way, be perfect, perform, and it just got so exhausting. It wasn't sustainable, and I had seen God's hand in people's lives, but I thought it was reserved to only certain people. I thought it wasn't for everybody. It's only for special people. Only special people have the backstage pass to God. Just by moving so much in my life, it just became so comfortable that if I had to be on my own, I would be more free. So I moved away, but it was really running away, just not wanting to be just facing whatever I was supposed to be, you know. And when I moved away, just put myself in really stupid, reckless situations, near-death experiences. And I was depressed, I was alone, but you would never know. And it was all a facade. It was just so fake. It was just a sham. I was so hurt by just churches and people and finally, when I did come back home for visits, I was introduced to my sister's friend, who was always speaking into me and always sharing just about God. And I always remembered that. So when I moved back, I reached out. And at the time when she shared her testimony with me, she didn't spare any detail, and she didn't even lower her voice in shame just in case people heard. And that was very interesting to me, and I just remembered that. And when I moved back, I reached out to her again, and she took me out for breakfast, and she even paid. And that's how I guess I had a taste of God, because she just gave me words. And even then, I was still skeptical of church, so I never went to church. I just kind of had these little tastes, I guess. I went to barbecues with her and events with her, but I never went to church. When I went to barbecues, there were other people from KICC who would share their encounters with me and who would share their experiences with the Holy Spirit. And they were so open and just sharing all of the time, which was so weird to me, because I always thought it was just for guest speakers or, special people, not just people you meet at barbecues. Eventually, it came to a point where I heard enough stories that I wanted it for myself. And I reached out to her and I said, okay, I want to come to KICC. When I walked into KICC, I was just so messed up, so full of dirt. And I just felt this this presence of love. And it didn't matter how messy you were. I remember sitting in the pews, just shaking, feeling like no one knows what I've done. No one understands, but in that moment, just being in that presence, I felt like this deep release and a deep cry I haven't heard in a really long time, because I had just shut it down. And just a release that from that first day. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave church. I just wanted to stay there. I was there till after they had cleaned up and tear it down. I didn't want to leave. And going from dreading going to church, I went to, when's the next service? I just experienced a lot of freedom, a lot of love. I remember wanting what the woman at the well had, just not being thirsty anymore, just living water. And I remember telling that to my friend, and that Friday night, pastor was going to preach something else entirely, and he said, you know what, I'm going to preach something else, and he preached on that, and I felt like I was being set up for my freedom. And when I encountered the Holy Spirit for the first time, I just had this intense shaking, intense just chill, like electricity going down to my body. From the top to the bottom is just zap, and just falling down on the ground, not being able to be so reserved. I remember just growing up so reserved and so guarded, but when I encountered the Holy Spirit, it was just this zap. I couldn't be reserved or containing it. After services, I would go home not knowing what to do with myself, with what I've experienced. Is this for real? What did I just step into? I remember coming home and just vacuuming in circles because I didn't know what to do with myself, going for runs late at night, and I'm not a runner, just wanting to tell people at the top of my lungs of what God did for me. I also remember that I was really empowered, I could have it too, any courses that was there, it was made available to all. It wasn't just reserved to special people like I had in mind. And there's been so many revelations, so many bad teachings that I had to unlearn, to learn. It's just so much. In 6 years that I've been here, I've just grown so much. And yeah, that's it.